Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am excited to announce this tiny little mini series that we're starting today called The Sims History. And what these little episodes are going to be are 30-minute lore episodes. I asked my audience what you guys wanted in season 3, and this is what you guys wanted. So I hope you enjoy it. And I have to have the lore king here, and also personally a really good friend of mine. My name is Gonz and Disney coming in for the 74th episode. Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hello,
Nice to be
everybody.
back.
I'm excited to have you back. I'm excited to
hmm
learn some more about the Sims 1 lore because
hmm
now that we can go back and play it, I still don't know any lore about it. I've just been building like it's my
Yeah.
full-time job. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, the Sims one is interesting because it itself by itself in its own existence doesn't have a whole lot of lore, right?
okay.
Like it itself, right? Because the game is basically a needs management game where like you need to prevent your Sims from being depressed. Apparently, I've been watching on Reddit. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but like people are like, why are they depressed? Why don't they want to do anything? Why do they just keep dropping out? Like why like they're like people are confused because their Sims are not just like happy all the time, you know? But ironically, a lot of the lore became retroactive from the Sims 2 and 3, right? So the Sims 2 and 3 kind of sets the stage for what we understand from a lore perspective. Yeah. As an example, right, you have the Goths that first
Mhm.
appear in the Sims 1, right? You
Mhm.
have Mortimer Goth, you have Bella Goth, and their daughter, but Cassandra. But we don't know anything about them. They're just like this fancy pants rich family that just kind of sits around and sets a fire to everything. But it isn't until the Sims 2 and 3 that we learn exactly how complicated this family is. In fact, in The Sims 3,
Mhm.
we have the Gunthers appear. Now, the Gunthers are actually part of the first neighborhood in The Sims. You actually have Gunther Goth and his wife Cornelia Goth and everything. They're all there, just as a separate family of old people in The Sims 1. And then we learn in The Sims 2 exactly how they're related to everybody else and kind of their lore and everything like that. Um, and that really is the case for a lot of the different townies within The Sims 1. We have the first iteration of some of the most famous townies that have ever existed within The Sims, right? We have the Newbie family, the Pleasant family, of course we have the Goths, we have the land grabs, and so many more that we've kind of dealt with before. But it itself, not a whole lot going on there. Like we do learn a little bit about their character perspectives and kind of how they are, more their attitudes, right? Like how they behave, their wants and their needs. And it kind of just sets the stage ultimately for what we're going to get in the Sims 2 and ultimately in the Sims 3. It also serves as kind of like a catalyst for us because it gives us expectations of what we're going to expect and then how the Sims 2, the Sims 3, and the Sims 4 ultimately just retroactively destroy all of it. I think the biggest example of it, which I'm sure we'll talk about this at a later date, is Dudley Landgrab, right? Nancy, Malcolm's son, right? That we just all around never like we just never see again, like ever again, like ever, like they just disappear forever and ever, and we never see them again. Um, a lot of people think that Johnny Zest is supposed to be kind of the alternate reality reincarnation of Dudley Landgrab, but I don't know about all that. But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to go on there, but I'm happy to expand on a lot of the families and everything like that. Court, what's ultimately like your favorite aspect of The Sims 1 as far as like townies are concerned? Like which one stuck out to you?
Well, obviously the goths
Yeah, of
stick
course.
out the most. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I did find I don't like when they don't follow things through. So, for example, I don't like that they didn't bring Dudley into it and that they replaced
Yes.
with Johnny. I would like if they were more consistent with the lore. I also, the ages of
Mhm.
Mortimer, and Bella have
Yeah.
been
all over the place, and I wish that they had
Yeah.
just been consistent with that too.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
actually
then
a
same with
great
like
point.
with the newbies of
Oh
like,
man. Yeah.
yeah, like they basically became the pancakes, I would argue.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I believe Bob Newby is in the gallery in The Sims 4. I believe he's present in that regard, but he's not actually in the game proper. Talking about the ages, the age discrepancy is actually something that happens on the regular for The Sims, and really to this day, I don't really have a good explanation as to why that is. When we look at the Goths in The Sims 1, they look like they are middle aged, right? You look at Mortimer. He's got black hair, no real signs of aging there, mustache. He starts as an adult, and you have Bella Goth who also starts an adult, right? And then in The Sims 2, suddenly Mortimer Goth is an old man, like a super old man. Like he's like a couple of days from dying, basically, in the beginning of The Sims 2. And Bella is presumably just the exact same age. So either Bella is a vampire of some sort, or no idea why that happens. But it does throw everything into question because at the time of The Sims 2, Cassandra's also a young adult. She's about to marry Don Lothario. And again, like Alexander is like a baby. So like a lot of the timeline there doesn't make a whole lot of sense all around, right? And a lot of the families basically get entirely just dismissed from the lore in The Sims 1. I'm gonna name a couple of them, and you guys are gonna go like, oh my god, who is that? Because they just disappeared. Now, if I forgot them, right? If they were in The Sims 2 and 3, you're gonna correct me, but I've honestly never seen them. The first one is the Meshuggah family, which is in neighborhood 2 of The Sims 1. They are supposed to be a Jewish family, right? A lot of their names are like Yiddish and everything like that. And this is also why people get confused about The Sims 1. There's neighborhoods, but they're the same neighborhood. Like it's exactly the same thing. It's just neighborhood 1, neighborhood 2, and it just
Yeah.
has different
Mhm.
houses and different people. You know what I mean? Um, you have the Burb family, but I think we do have a Burb family in The Sims 2, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, like off the top of my head. Do we not have those? The
I don't
Burbs?
recall.
I don't
Okay.
think so. The name doesn't ring a bell.
Got it. Yeah, so there's Brad Burb, Tiffany Burb, Johnny Burb, Tucker Burb, and Lucy Burb. They were added for The Sims Unleashed. And yeah, I don't remember ever seeing them. Um, no, I'm a liar. I'm a liar. I actually have my notes. The Sims 3, they were present in The Sims 3 in Dragon
Oh,
Valley. Do y'all remember Dragon Valley?
oh yes.
So they were present in there. We have the Goth senior family, of course, which I told you guys earlier was Gunther Goth,
Mhm.
Cornelia Goth, Hecuba Goth, and Menelaus Goth. Those are the cats, by the way. And for all of you those are the cats. Okay.
Mhm.
But they're present. Then we have the Hick family, which I don't think we ever see again at all. Right? They are meant to be a beauty queen, like Mama Hicks. And they have a couple of dogs and a couple of kids, but really they're not anything that we ever see again. We have the cat family, which okay, so it's funny because it's KAT, but it's just a crazy cat lady. I don't want to get political. No, I'm just kidding. But they have the cat family, which we do see again in The Sims 2. But just in case you guys are confused, right? One of the first expansions for The Sims was literally like the pet expansion. So you just got a whole bunch of families with different pets, right? And that's why we got an old lady with her little cat, right? Gianna cat, Terra cat, and then we see them again in The Sims 2. And then of course we have the Charming family, right? Which is we have Claire Charming and Luna Charming. Luna being a little doggy. And again, we just all we know is that they're friendly, nice people with little baby animals, right? That is all we get in The Sims 1, right? That they disappear from existence at that point, never see them again. And in The Sims 2, they're like, all right, let's just completely change this. Let's completely revitalize this whole thing and make an actual story about the lore and everything like that. So I wish I could say that we could expand a little bit further on it. It's just there's so little in there to really discuss, you know?
Uh,
I had no idea of being like, huh. But Court, you were gonna say something.
yeah, I mean, their zodiac signs tell a very big story about who they are.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're not wrong about that if you subscribe to that. Yeah, so The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 had zodiac signs in place, which I gotta be honest with you, kind of wish that was in The Sims 4. I had there ever been a reason given as to why it's not? Because that's still a thing. We still have our crystal girlies out there, so why don't we have zodiac signs in The Sims 4, right? Like that I wish that would come back,
It
right?
used to bother me a little bit with my zodiac sign
Mm.
because it would give me traits that I was just like, or well, not traits, not like
Right.
I don't know if that's the right term that we want to use
Mhm.
for this, but yeah, it would say that I'm like certain things that I
The
didn't necessarily.
connotations and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
Like I don't identify as a classic Virgo through and through. So yeah, I didn't like being like pigeonholed into that.
No, no, correct, absolutely. I actually forgot to mention one of the most important NPCs that comes out, or townies, I should say, that comes out of The Sims 1. This is the first time we see Crumplebottom. That's the first time we
Yeah.
see old lady Crumplebottom. Her whole thing in Hot Date is to just crap on your parade. Anytime you're in public and you are in any way physical with anybody, she appears and smacks you with her purse. That is her whole point of existence within Hot Date, which of course is the third expansion pack for The Sims 1. And she quite literally like that, literally like you'll be sitting there and you'll just like maybe you'll flirt with one of your Sims or something like that, and she'll just walk up to you and just start smacking you with her purse, and then a little pop-up saying like kids these days, and then just the way she walks away, right? So it's
Oh,
the worst. And yeah, and we see
I
her,
love.
yeah, we,
Remember
we see
Country
her.
Living when she
Oh yeah.
came back? That was
Yeah.
like such an iconic moment. People freaked out. Like, you got crumple bottomed.
Oh yes, yes. Her return obviously was one that people were crazy for. We also got the Pleasants. I forgot to actually mention that. We got
Yeah.
we got the Pleasants. Of course, we got the actual like the whole Pleasant family at that time, but we didn't learn anything about them. They were just present there. Father, wife, two kids. That's all we really learned about them at the time. Um, I do not. Yeah, we didn't see the Calientes. A lot of people sometimes think that the Calientes were in The Sims 1, and they were not. Right? They were not. They appeared for the first time in The Sims 2.
Two.
Right? But the yeah, like I said, I think the takeaway from the Sims 1, right? The lore takeaway is that you want to learn that number one, we have two extremely affluent families, right? You have the Landgrabs and you have the Goths. Okay. Now, the Landgrabs are historically old money, and the Goths are also old money, right? But they're very different, and I think that's kind of the impression that you get with them, right? Like the Goths are very like high class, very classy, very you know I wouldn't even know how to explain really how they are, but like the land grabs are a lot more like California
Industrious.
rich, very like, out there, very gaudy, if you will, right? Um, and then all the other Sims from that point, really, like again, like the Bachelors, the newbies, all of them eventually play minor roles as we get into The Sims 2, which of course we'll talk about at a later date. But that's really the important thing is to remember is that the families that they establish, right? And that of course Bella Goth is a bachelor, right? She is related to Michael Bachelor, who just disappears off the map, by the way. We know for a fact he just goes away, right? So that's always fun, but we'll expand on that a little bit more in The Sims 2. But yeah, that's everything. When you
Huh.
play The Sims 1, don't worry about lore. Just freaking build and keep your Sims alive.
What about any fun Easter eggs?
Oh,
Anyone on the
there's
hunt? Anyone on the
yeah.
hunt for looking for stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the game that they have. Um, a lot of gameplay stuff that I know about specifically. Like if you make your Sims late, they quite literally will get depressed if they're late to school. The kid will actually become depressed. Kids are a lot easier to get to lose and stuff like that. But nothing honestly off the top of my head as far as like other great binding Easter eggs, if I'm honest.
Fair. Court, how about you? Any hidden Easter eggs?
No, I think Gonz did a good job covering it. I think, again, with The Sims being so preliminary at that time, it was more so just a few buttons that made things just barely work.
Yeah,
And we
I think it's important when we talk about The Sims, right? And this is I think it's more important to talk about The Sims as a franchise when it comes to their lore, which is far more interesting than The Sims lore itself in The Sims 1. Will Wright was responsible for making The Sims 1, right? He had become famous for making SimCity in 1994 or 1995. Again, SimCity, very famous city building game that came out. And he actually went up to Max's after his house burned down, and he started thinking about how am I going to rebuild my house. And he said, "Hey guys, I have this idea about making a game where it's basically a dollhouse simulator. You make a little house, you have your little dolls in there, and they just do little things and yada yada yada, right?" Um, and Max's was like, "No." Max's was like, "That's the dumbest idea you've ever had, Will. You need to get out of here, Will. No one likes you. Like, get out. Like, you're the worst, right?" And unfortunately, because of that, they were like, "Just make SimCity 3000 SimCities. That's all people care about." And not to be messed up, but Max's like the exact word out of the Max's board of directors at the time. Now, guys, remember this is 1996 or something like that. All right, let's be careful, right? But they walk away and say, "Girls don't play video games." That's the board of directors. It's like you want to make a dollhouse and girls don't play video games. That was what the board of directors said at Max when it came to making The Sims. Maxis started to fail as a company, and they were purchased by, of course, Electronic Arts. And when Electronic Arts heard the idea for The Sims, they said, "That is a fantastic idea. Will, here's all the millions you need in order to build it. We think it's great." So for everyone out who killed The Sims, I'm sorry to tell you, The Sims happened because of EA. If it wasn't for EA, there would be no Sims. And of course, The Sims went on to become instantly the greatest game ever made. It surpassed Myst, which is a very famous PC game, sold millions and millions, and it started a franchise of which we are now experiencing the results of. So again, amazing, amazing, amazing game that set the groundwork for everything else. Unfortunately, it itself is just very basic.
At least the first iteration of it's pretty basic.
Yeah, exactly.
When we do our Sims 2 episode, it will be a lot longer.
For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure.
Well, Gonz, Disney, thank you so much for coming here today. You know what? I learned all the townies. Honestly, I still don't play with the townies, and now that I can go back to playing The Sims, I'm really just building. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the beauty of The Sims. Some people are just like, you know what? I care about cast. I care about builds. Some people, I care about the lore, and some people, it's all the above. So
you have to remember that when the game came out, it wasn't about the people, about the townies. The townies were just kind of like a vehicle that were there for you to play that had different physical attributes, and it wasn't until people started to like fall in love with these characters and make like fan stories and fan art and everything like that, that the Sims team was like, "Oh, we need to make stories behind these characters," right? And that's where all of that spawned from.
amazing.
But yeah.
Well, Gonz and Disney, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
As I promised, shorter episodes. You don't have to listen to an episode for 3 hours to get all the information that you need to know. But we will be continuing doing more of the Sims History podcast. I want to thank Gonz and Disney for coming here today. Gonz, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram and Twitch at Mynameisgonz.
I love that. Disney, where can we find you?
You can find me at the Disney Sims and at Townie Tales and on Gonz's Streams.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed these little episodes. I very much, even though there was not much to have learned, I still learned a little bit, and that's all that absolutely matters. So again, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.